Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Christy and I hope you're all doing great. It's Saturday and I don't have a game today. It's their bye week, so I'm going to try to get caught up on my videos. A lot of you know I've been sick and I was feeling better, and then last night I was talking to my husband and out of nowhere I got sick again. So it's been literally freezing here. It's been in the 20s, but then today it's going to be 87. So all these crazy weather changes are not helping. That, along with my immune system, I have rheumatoid arthritis, so literally everything hurts. So that's where I'm at, but here we are. Before I get started on today's video, I want to share one of you wonderful subscribers sent me. Let's make sure if you can see this bracelet. It says "Justice for Kylie Rodney," which I'm wearing. I put it on as soon as I opened it, and she included this amazing card with it, and it really made my day because, like I said, I wasn't feeling super great. But then I got this and it made me smile, and I'm keeping it right with me as I do my videos because it says, "Christy, thank you so much for all you do. You're a wonderful voice with such integrity and heart, and I'm so glad I found your channel. Keep up your amazing work." And I won't say her name. Her name on here is Phantasmic Ether. So thank you so much, Phantasmic Ether. You made my day, and what you said reminds me of why I'm doing this, which kind of leads me into today's video. So a lot of people were telling me, "Oh, you need to do a podcast, you need to do a YouTube channel," because I'm so into true crime. And honestly, I was like, who's going to listen to me? Who wants to hear what I have to say? Who's going to watch me? And surprisingly, some of you do. But this was the case that we're going to talk about today. This is the case that started it all for me, that made me realize maybe in some small way I could do something to at least get awareness out there. I've told you before, I am Cherokee Indian, and the missing and murdered indigenous people problem really upsets me. And this is a cold case murder of a Native American. How I came across it one day on Facebook, the OSBI created a playing card deck, and they posted one, and the name was Brett Wolfe, and it really almost jumped off the page at me. My oldest son's name is Brett, and it's spelled the same way with two T's, and the 2T thing has always been a big thing. If I was a boy, my mom was going to name me Brett and with 2 T's because she didn't like the way it looked with 1 T. And it always bothers me now when I see it with 1 T. Kind of like my name doesn't have an H. So if I see Christy with an H, I'm like, ooh. But his name was Brett Wolfe, and I saw that he was from the town of Seminole. And Seminole is not super far from me. It's down the highway a bit. You take 40 and you can get there. And I thought, it's close and it's a sad case. You know, I started looking into it, and this year it's been 16 years with no answers. So I found a Facebook group for him, and not a lot of recent activity. I mean, it has been so long. And I got on there and said that I wanted to do this, and I started getting contacted by some people. And I was lucky enough to meet with Brett's aunt and his cousin, they might as well have been brother and sister. And his aunt is amazing. He has such a wonderful family. And I've spent time with them and I've talked with them. And I really want justice for this family. The case is solvable. I honestly don't know why it's still cold. Like I said, I deep dived a lot. I mean, I probably deep dived this more than any other case. I've actually been working on it since the end of February, beginning of March. So a long time. And I don't know why it's taken me this long to get around to doing this video. I've been talking with his aunt, and they've had a lot of stuff going on, just, family and life stuff. And I was hoping to get more pictures of Brett to share because there's just not that many out there online and things like that. And it just hasn't worked out for us to get back together here recently. And I decided it was time. And then a friend of mine, some of you may believe in this and some of you may not, but she reads tarot cards. Her name on YouTube, it's Nikki B's Tarot. And she did a reading on this case for me. And so much of what she said, and it was a blind read. She didn't know anything. And if you go on Google to look for him, there's really nothing out there. And so she really didn't know anything about the case. I didn't give her any information other than his name and that it was a cold case. And so much of it lined up with what we have been thinking. And I thought, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and do this. And then as I get more pictures and things, I will add them. But it's important for me to start telling Brett's story. It's been long enough. I have immersed myself in this case so deeply. I have done things I never thought I would do. I have reached out to friends of mine who work high up in the federal government, trying to find any help that I could get, any names I could contact to maybe just push buttons, if nothing else, to get something done. I befriended a person that, and I say befriended like this, okay? He may or may not be involved directly, but I think he knows what happened. And he absolutely did not want to talk about the person we suspect. And he did not want to talk about Brett. So I kind of backed off a little bit and we just talked about stuff. His past, how he grew up, how he ended up in Oklahoma, how he ended up where he is now, things like that. And then one night he was texting me and I felt like he was really close to getting there, to telling me something. Maybe not everything, but something. And then suddenly, no more contact. So I just let it go. Well, recently he reached out again on Facebook, and we haven't really talked anymore. But I never thought in a million years I would do something like that. But that's how much I care. That's how much I want answers. And it was scary. I'm not going to lie. Talking to somebody that you think is potentially involved in a murder, it was a bit intimidating. But I was willing to do that for Brett and his family. So maybe that'll lead somewhere, maybe it won't. But we do have a lot of information. And my friend in the federal government, he said, you know, there's a lot of strings here to be pulled that could lead to something. But they're not being pulled. And we'll get to all that. I sent letters to everyone I could think of. The OSBI investigators, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which is a whole nother can of worms. Anybody that had previously been involved in this case, elected officials, anyone I could think of, just trying to get something going. I finally contacted a private investigator who has relationships in the OSBI and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And he explained to me if we hired him, what he could do for the case. As far, you know, like there's an attorney that can go to court and file paperwork to get us information that we don't have access to. And the amount of money just isn't doable for the family right now. So I started a GoFundMe for them, and the private investigator said they were willing to take like a down payment and then payments along, but we haven't reached enough yet. So I will link that in the description. I mean, even if you can just donate $1, it would mean the world to this family at this point. We're basically just trying to do anything and everything that we can think of to get the information that we need to get this solved, to get this, to have somebody finally be held accountable. So let's get into, I don't have necessarily like a script I'm going to follow today. This is just going to kind of be a big overview, and we can get into more of the specifics and details later in other videos. But I have some clips. My daughter and I and Brett's aunt and cousin, we actually went to the apartment building where this happened, and I've got some clips of that just so you can kind of visualize everything. And this case is crazy. Like I said, as much as I have dug in connections that I've made, it's hard to think that this person is still out there, and we very likely know who it is. So this is Brett Wolfe, and I'm going to put the missing and murdered indigenous people symbol up there because that is what he is. So he is the 6 of Hearts on the OSBI playing card deck, and they hand those out in the prisons hoping somebody will say something, you know, because let's face it, they're all looking for a deal, right? And if somebody has information on these cold cases and they get in contact, maybe they could work a deal. But in Brett's case, it doesn't seem to have been any help so far. He was only 25 years old when he was murdered. He was found on Friday, September 23rd, 2006, in his apartment. He was found face down with his hands tied behind his back and his feet tied. It says he was found at 11:30 a.m. by his roommate, but this guy was not Brett's roommate. Brett lived alone. It was a very small apartment, a little 1-bedroom. He didn't even have a bed. He actually slept on the couch. And this guy who showed up, I don't know why they thought he was his roommate, but he even had Brett's cell phone, which makes no sense. He had lived in the apartment for about 7 or 8 months, and his mom lived in the apartment right beneath him. And his grandma lived on the first floor. And if you stand on the balcony of Brett's apartment, you can see his grandma's apartment. The OSBI said they talked to dozens of witnesses and sent evidence to the lab, which is something we will get to. He had a single gunshot wound to the chest, and it was reported that Brett's first child was born just days before the murder, and he never got to meet his child. And I thought, wow, that is so sad. And there's even a story with that. That child ended up not being Brett's. The family thought that it was, and helped the girl out, took care of, anything that she might need. And when they went to apply to get benefits for the child on behalf of Brett, they did a paternity test, and it showed that he was not Brett's child. However, I got contacted by the mother of his actual child that he never knew existed. And he has grown up to be an amazing young man. And he's very close with Brett's family. He looks so much like Brett. And he has been denied the chance to get to know his dad and see how similar they are in personality and hobbies and everything. He's learning about his dad through pictures and stories from his family. Seminole Emergency Services and Seminole Police were the first to arrive, and then they called the OSBI. Paramedics checked for signs of life, and then they called in, like I said, the OSBI and the medical examiner's office. His mom said that he loved people, could talk to anyone about anything. Brett had a wonderful sense of humor, a beautiful smile. He loved nature, adored children, and believed loyalty still meant something. And he was buried at the Douglas Family Cemetery. He was born on April 14th, 1981. So he would have been 41 years old this year. He was born in Ada to William Edward and Vicki Douglas Wolfe. He went to Pleasant Grove Elementary and then to Maud Schools, graduated Maud High School in 1999. He was a surveying technician at Marshall Surveying Company in Seminole. He was loving, kind, loved his family very much. He loved fishing and many types of sports. He was raised by his grandparents, Bookett and Emma Douglas of Seminole. His mom was Vicki Wolfe of Seminole. His dad, William Wolfe of Eufaula. He had 2 brothers, a sister, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, and a lot of other family and friends. So, Emily Tate started the Facebook group called Justice for Brett Wolfe, September 12th of 2019. There's a letter in the Facebook group from his mom, Vicki, and it said that she personally knows a family whose brother made a deathbed confession about the murder. Mary and Edward Foster in the Facebook group said they heard people openly talking about it, and they do. All around Seminole, they talk about it. It's crazy, and it's sad. So the family, with good reason, is suspicious of the Seminole PD. And they are a pretty sketchy bunch. Like, I really hope nothing ever happens to me in Seminole because it probably won't be solved. His aunt said that Seminole PD have descriptions and investigations that we don't even know about. Sorry, the dogs are like really in a mood today. So, a little bit about Seminole. The population is roughly 7,000. Based on FBI crime data, the crime rate is 86% higher than other cities and towns in Oklahoma. Seminole State College is there. They have a Walmart. They have a Wrangler manufacturing plant. It was an oil boom town that at one time was the third most producing oil field in the world. They have a hospital, a golf course, children's museum, a wellness center, an oil museum, a water park, 15 manufacturing plants, and they also have a drug problem, which is meth. So to be fair, I looked into Brett's criminal record, and nothing extremely substantial here. As you know, on my channel, we don't do victim blaming or victim shaming, and I don't care if you're an active drug addict, you still don't deserve to be murdered. But October 14th of 2003, he has a charge of possession of drug paraphernalia and possession of a controlled substance, which was a misdemeanor. July 15th of 2003, possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, which was considered a felony, probably because of the prior charge. May 26, 1999, public drunk, which was a misdemeanor. Those are probably pretty common here. He has a burglary, second-degree bribing, attempting to bribe an officer, which was a felony. He was convicted on December 22nd of 1999, and that's honestly the worst of his offenses. So the person that found him, his name was Chris Patton, and he had borrowed Brett's car the night of the murder. We are assuming it happened at night. And I wondered if when he found him, was he coming back to return the car or what? And I wondered how he got in, you know, and then I was thinking, well, he borrowed the car, so maybe he had the key to the apartment. Well, it turns out that that night, Brett's mom had brought him up some food, and he ate, and he was still hungry, and she went downstairs. She was going to cook some dinner for herself, and she said that she would bring some up for Brett, and just leave his door open, and she'd just come in and leave the food. Well, I guess she fell asleep, or, you know, something happened, but she did not go back up. And from what we can gather, Brett was asleep on the couch and probably fell asleep before he unlocked the door, or before he locked the door, I'm sorry. So it's very likely the door may have been open when Chris got there. But as I said before, he also had Brett's phone, which is weird because Brett wouldn't just give this guy his cell phone. So let's see. I had a phone call with a man named Adam on April 2nd of 2022. He gave me permission and I recorded our conversation, but I've got some bullet points of the conversation that I'm going to go over now. So Adam knew Brett from going to school with him and Maud. His sister, who's 5 years older, was in Brett's grade. When Adam and Brett, when they graduated, they went to Montana to work on ski resorts together, and they had been friends for a long time. So the day of Brett's murder is also the day Adam was kidnapped. Yes, kidnapped. They had been hanging out at Dominic Coker's house the night before. We'll just call him DC, okay? DC left to meet up with a girl in Kanawha. Now, let's go back to Chris Patton. Chris Patton was borrowing Brett's car to take a friend to his daughter's birthday party. When Dominic left, he was supposed to go to his daughter's birthday party. Brett's family would later find a receipt from Walmart for, I assume, a gift that police had overlooked and not collected. They turned it over to the police, and nobody knows what happened to that receipt now. So DC left to meet up with this girl in Kanawha. DC's wife and Adam's buddy, Ricky, I think, went to look for DC, and they ended up messing around. DC comes back in the morning going crazy. Adam's buddy had left before DC got there. So, in the conversation, this guy is referred to as the other guy, which we will get into. DC and another guy hold Adam and DC's wife hostage at gunpoint with a .45 caliber. DC shoots the .45 between the heads of Adam and DC's wife, and her name is Rachel. DC hogties Adam in the exact same way as Brett would later be found. DC puts Adam in the trunk of his car, drives down a country road to someone else's house, who it was actually DC's cousins. And I've talked to one of them. The other one is dead now, but I talked to one of them, and they did confirm this. DC and the other guy beat the crap out of Adam. His eye socket is caved in on one side from the beating. The other guy left to go somewhere else, and Adam didn't see him again. The other guy was charged along with DC and the cousins, and this is all public record. I found it very easily. So Adam and Rachel didn't go to the police for like 3 or 4 days because they were scared, and the actual kidnapping charges were filed on the 27th of September of 2006. Adam said he was begging for his life, and it was about a 4 or 5 hour ordeal. Adam was put inside an old camper trailer, like a fifth wheel. DC handed his wife the gun and tells her she has to shoot Adam. Adam worked his restraints loose and dove out the window in the camper. DC comes around the corner holding a gun on Adam. DC and his wife start talking, and DC gets pissed, and they start arguing. Adam overhears pieces of the conversation, including, DC was locked up right before all of this. DC's wife went to Brett's and slept with him. DC freaks out and ends up leaving, and leaves the cousins to watch Adam. And this is all confirmed. The cousin tells Adam DC's wife slept with Brett. DC was going to confront Brett. This is the same day as Brett's murder. The other guy from DC's house meets up with DC to go with DC to Brett's. Adam's cousin, Bo Sneed, was locked up with the other guy, and he told Bo that he and DC killed Brett Wolfe. The other guy escaped from either Holdenville or Wewoka jail. Chris Patton found Brett the next day. Brett murdered the same day that DC was on his rampage. Chuddo Williams, cousin of DC who let Adam go, talked to DC that day. He has since apologized to Adam. Chuddo is the cousin that I talked to. He no longer has any association with DC, by the way. And he wants answers. He wants justice because his name and his brother, who has since passed, are constantly lumped in, and he wants to clear his name and his brother's name from this whole thing. Yes, they were involved in Adam's kidnapping, but not Brett's murder. Adam said Brett was a good friend and a great guy. He emailed the OSBI and was never followed up with, never talked to, or questioned. And I asked Adam if he could send me a copy. Just, I want to check all the boxes, right? I want to make sure that, I'm putting out facts, that I'm putting out the truth. So I said, you have a copy of what you sent. And he did, and he sent me this. This was sent to the OSBI tips for Brett Wolfe. It says, Adam Lewis, you guys need to talk to Dominic Coker. I was kidnapped by him on the same day Brett Wolfe was murdered. He tied my arms and legs exactly the way Brett Wolfe was tied up. Dominic's girlfriend, who is actually his wife, had just told him that she had cheated on him with Brett while Dominic was in the hospital. He was actually in jail. He also left the place where he had me tied up hours before Brett was found. Dominic either did it himself or at the very least was there when it happened. They never followed up with him. Never. And there are court records of the kidnapping, of who was subpoenaed, of who was charged. It's all out there, and they never followed up on this. Sorry, I get a little heated. So, I really wanted to know who the hell the other guy was. So, I start looking into the cousin who was in jail with the other guy, Bo Sneed. So, September 1st of 2006, he was charged with unlawful possession of, I don't know what I have written here, sorry, of CD with intent to distribution of controlled substance, which was a felony. The case number was Seminole Wewoka CF 0600267, and it was in the Seminole court system. So like I said, I deep dived and I start looking for who else was locked up at that time and who escaped from that jail. And I found the other guy, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But let's talk about DC, Dominic Coker. 43 years old, 6'2", 176 pounds. According to the Oklahoma Department of Corrections, he was in for assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. Convicted in the Seminole court May 20th of 2010. He was given a 10-year probation and a 10-year sentence and incarcerated on September 21st of 2011 was when the facility reception date was. His sentence start date was the 28th of September 2012. He was charged with possession of a controlled substance in Seminole court, convicted May 20th, 2010, same day. 10-year probation, 10-year sentence, same incarceration information. September 8th of 2006 in District Court in Oklahoma, possession of controlled drugs. Seminole Court, felony case CF 2006-00283, Coker. September 27th of 2006. This is a key date. District Court, Oklahoma. Assault with a deadly weapon, kidnapping, robbery with a weapon. Charges filed September 27th, 2006. Felony, Seminole Court, case number CF 2006 00318 A. Coker. This is Adams kidnapping. October 29th, 2010. District Court, Oklahoma. Robbery by force or fear. Felony. Seminole County, case number CF 2010 00339 COKER. October 28th, 2010. District Court, Oklahoma. Unlawful possession of a controlled drug with intent to distribute. Possession of a sawed-off shotgun. Possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Falsely impersonating another to create liability. Felony. Pottawatomie County Court, case number CF 2010-00631, Coker. Oklahoma Department of Correction. Using offensive weapon in a felony, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, false personation, possession of a sawed-off shotgun, rifle, possession of a controlled substance, case number 00006-20724, Pottawatomie County Court, sentenced to 10 years and 1 day. Charged in the kidnapping was Dominic Coker, Keitha Williams, who died February 6th of 2012, Chuddo Williams, Brandon Charles Farnell. That's the other guy. He escaped from a penal institution on October 15th, 2007, when he was incarcerated with Bo Sneed. Brandon Farnell is the other guy. Now, let's go back real quick into Mr. Coker's charges. So, September 8th of 2006, he was in jail in Seminole for the felony count of possession of a controlled drug. This is when Brett and Rachel allegedly slept together. But here's what really just absolutely destroys me. Guess who bonded him out? Brett. Brett bonded Dominic out. And then guess who didn't show up to court? Dominic. So Brett wasn't very happy about that, I can guess. Keep that in the back of your mind, though. That was September 8th. So, like I said, I looked into the other guy. And October 15th of 2007, he was charged with escaping from a penal institution, case number CF 2007-00448 Farnell. He escaped from Pottawatomie County Detention Center in Shawnee on August 28th of 2007. So that is definitely the other guy. Now I want to talk a little bit about Brett's autopsy. So I'm going to put up our trigger warning bunny. I'm not going to get too graphic, but it is an autopsy, so Brett Bucket Wolfe lived at 2215 West Wrangler Boulevard, number 205. The examiner was notified by Officer Mackey of the Seminole PD at 12:06 on September 22nd of 2006. He was in complete rigor. Lividity, let's put it that way. Posterior and anterior, and he was purple. He had blood in his nose and mouth. He had a gunshot wound to the chest, bondage of wrists and ankles, dense soot in depth of entrance wound, no exit wound, markedly damaged lead bullet, small in size, penetrated the left lobe of his liver, his heart, thoracic aorta, lower lobe of left sixth intercostal space to left back. It went in backward and slightly upward towards the left. He had a bilateral hemothorax, hemopericardium, and hemoperitoneum. Bondage of both wrists with wire wrapped around 6 times. 3 fixed knots having a plug on one end, with gray imprints around the wrists, with focal blistering and abrasions. Bondage of both ankles with wire wrapped around 3 times. Fixed knot having gray imprints with focal blistering. Cutaneous abrasions over his upper lip, back of left shoulder, left elbow, and right knee. Perimortem abrasions over his right cheek. Fine petechiae over bridge of nose, front of neck, down to the clavicles. Petechiae of face, chest, and neck. Petechiae of laryngeal mucosa. So as soon as I see petechiae, it signals asphyxiation in my mind, because that's what I learned. So immediately I was like, did they try to smother him? Did they try to choke him first? He was lying on the living room floor, hands tied behind his back, feet tied together, ligatures made with some type of electrical cord. The apartment appeared to be ransacked. Furniture and possessions were in disarray. Brett was lying on a pillow which had a through-and-through gunshot hole. A single .22 caliber rimfire case was found near the door. A single gunshot wound potentially was rapidly fatal. The range of shot, contact. Markedly damaged lead bullet with questionable copper jacket recovered in his body. Suggestion of asphyxia. Conjunctivae congested, no petechiae. Fine petechiae over eyebrows, mainly on the right. Reddish purple petechiae over the bridge of the nose. Fine petechiae on left and right, near inner aspect of the eyes. Yellow-brown abrasion approximately 1.3 centimeters over his right upper cheek. Just below the tip of his nose on upper lip, there was a red abrasion measuring 0.5 centimeters. Blanched mark over right cheek. Neck shows numerous fine petechiae, mainly over the front, near the midline, toward the right side of the upper neck, with small red contusion over right lower cheek, approximately 0.3 centimeters. Fine petechiae extend to collarbone regions down to upper sternum. Green discoloration on entrance wound and right lower abdomen. Small red-brown abrasions over his left elbow and right knee. 0.5 centimeter scab over right thigh. He was wearing light brown short pants cut just above knee level. They found a blue pillow with red-green cross pattern with a 0.5 centimeter hole surrounded by a 0.4 by 0.5 centimeter black soot measuring 1.2 by 1.2 centimeters. The other side of the pillow shows 0.4 centimeter hole with no black soot around the hole. Adjacent to it is a small blood stain. So I wonder if, you know, they tried. Brett was a big guy, and according to his family, he wasn't afraid to fight anybody. If somebody was going to mess with him, he was going to fight back. He was very protective of his family at school, if they were getting bullied or anything like that. So Brett would have fought, which is why I know in my gut this wasn't done by one person. There had to be more than one person there to be able to get him tied up like that, right? And somebody once that I was discussing this with was like, well, they had a gun. Yeah, but if you're gonna tie him up, you need to put that gun down, right? As soon as they laid that gun down and went to hog tie him, Brett would have fought. So there had to be more than one person. Had to be more than one person. I think there were at least 2, possibly 3. But anyway, I'm wondering if they had him like maybe up against the wall, you know, and pushing with their arm against his neck to cause the asphyxia, or when he was down on the ground. I think they call it burking, when they sit on your chest and they put all that weight on your chest where you can't breathe and you suffocate. They may have even tried to suffocate him with the pillow, and then when that didn't work, they just took the pillow, shot through it, and that's what finally killed him. That's all speculation on my part. They had called his mom, who worked at a daycare not terribly far from the apartment complex, and told her that she needed to come home, and she ran there. His cousin was also there. The neighbors weren't questioned by law enforcement. The family talked to them, but law enforcement didn't, which makes no sense to me. Okay, so I'm going to take Trigger Warning Bunny down now. So this is not mine, but just to give you an idea, when I'm working on this case, this is what it looks like. I have pictures, names, posted. This person's connected to this person this way. It's a murder board. That's about as cluttered as this case is that one right there is a very good example. So now I'm going to show you, this is the apartment complex that he lived in. It's called the Courtyards. His is the one more near the bottom, and then in the bottom corner you see that white square. That is actually a hospital. And when we visited the apartment buildings, you know, of course I had been asking about surveillance cameras. I mean, this happened in 2006, so probably not as many as we have today, but places would have had surveillance cameras, right? Well, unfortunately, the apartment building didn't, but I was like, the hospital would, because if I'm remembering correctly, the emergency entrance is facing the apartment buildings, and the family has no idea if they ever even checked it. So when Brett would come in, he would park on this far side. Apparently where his car was parked that day was not where he would normally park. And I can only assume that's because it was Chris Patton who drove it last. This is what the apartment building looks like. It's not in that good a shape anymore, which you will see. I don't know when this picture was taken, but that is what they look like from ground level when you pull up. You can see there's parking all around. And then they have these breezeways that you walk through when you come, like you park, and then you walk through one of these breezeways and it takes you into the courtyard. The night of Brett's murder, he was actually seen in one of these breezeways by a Seminole police officer at around 11 p.m. They spoke, you know, pleasantries, whatever, hi, what's going on, that kind of thing. He was actually seen that night at about 11 o'clock in one of those breezeways. And then, as I said, my daughter's been working on this with me, and she did the videoing the day we were there. I wanted to get videos just of random things that I wanted to be able to go back and look at later. Now, the way it's set up, there would be 2 ways you could get up there, 2 sets of stairs that you could have taken. Now, the most direct route from where Brett's car was parked, which is where we parked, We walked right in front of Brett's mom's apartment where she used to live. Obviously, she doesn't live there anymore after this, but we walked right in front of her apartment and went up the stairs, and it's a shorter way to get there, but it isn't believed that that is the way they took. They took the other way, and I just want to show you the stairs and the balcony, the walkway. It's all very narrow. It's not very wide. I could imagine if a larger individual, a big man, like, I don't know, DC, were walking there, it's possible that he could have brushed up against the walls, that it would have made some sort of a sound. So I kind of wanted to just give you the feel of the closeness. And so this is when we were walking up the stairs. My daughter took this video. You can hear a little bit of talking. His aunt, bless her, going back there was not easy for them. And she wanted to go up to Brett's apartment with us, and it was not quite a full-on panic attack, but she had to go back downstairs. And it broke my heart. It really did. But here is the stairs you walk up to get up there. Like I said, you can see it's not very wide. And then this, I was kind of just looking. This is around the corner, looking off the balcony, just to kind of get the view of what you could see. And if you look, let me play it again, straight ahead of me, you see like the little cutout of the railing. That is the staircase that is closer to Brett's apartment. And you can see those boxed off things. That's the staircase. So right there, that's the stairs. Now this one, I was walking and, hey, sorry, taking the longer way. I wanted to count exactly how many windows would these people have had to walk by to get there. How many potential people could have seen or heard them going to Brett's apartment. And then we get to Brett's door, and there's people living there now, and I could hear them talking from outside. You'll see me go like this. I can hear them talking while I'm standing there. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I want you to see that somebody probably heard something. So let me show you that one real quick.
Oh my goodness. Lord have mercy.
I assume this was Brett's. Is this Brett's window? Would this have been his? So 5 windows. I can hear from out here, so.
That's how you know the walls are thin.
So you can see it's very close. And like I said, you could hear them talking. It was, I'm so glad I was able to go there and see things for myself. And then she just did kind of a quick look around from the courtyard downstairs. Hang on. And if you look, Brett's apartment, it was so bizarre that day. They didn't know we were coming, but they had their light on. It was the only apartment that had the light on, so it was so easy to tell what we were looking for, what we were looking at when we were in different positions in the complex, because Brett's apartment actually had their light on. right there. So Brett loved to kind of take care of and spoil his family. They said he used to buy little gifts and jewelry and take it to his grandma, who lived, like I said, downstairs. Excuse me. And he had neighbors that he had keep an eye on his apartment when he was out. And he would give them a little bit of money to do that. And they would keep an eye on things when he wasn't there. And this is the view from their apartment looking towards Brett's. And again, you can see if you go all the way to the end, if you count over, there's one door, the second door with the light on, that's Brett's apartment. So I was obviously curious, like, why, right? Well, Brett had, and I told you I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be upfront about everything because it's all important to the case, right? So Brett had been selling drugs. I don't know what kind of drugs. He wasn't like a major big time drug dealer by any stretch of the imagination. He was selling them for somebody else. And he was doing this to get extra money. Well, he realized this was not for him, and he was getting out. And everyone knew he was getting out. His family knew, his friends knew, everyone knew he was getting out. I don't know if that's why he had people watching his apartment, was while, you know, he was doing the drug dealing, or if he was just doing it to help them out by giving them a little cash, and instead of just giving it to them, he gave them a little job to do to earn it. You know, just keep an eye on things when I'm not there. Because like his cousin that I met, she would go over there and she would like clean his apartment and stock his fridge and do little things like that. So it wasn't unusual for people to be there when he wasn't there, but for whatever reason, they kept an eye on his apartment for him. Apparently that night though, they didn't see anything. But like I said, he was getting out. He was done. It wasn't for him. And I kind of wonder if that factored in at all. Did somebody know he was getting out? Did they think he had money in his apartment? Did they think he might still have a little bit of a stash of drugs left over? Things like that. But it feels like a jealousy thing. I'm not going to name names, but it feels like a jealousy thing to me. So the family, when they would put posters up around town looking for information, looking for tips, one name kept getting written, literally written on the posters. And it was DC. His name's written on all these posters all over town. Apparently he goes around town talking about it. You know, he can use this as kind of, you know what I did to Brett Wolfe? Well, I'll do it to you too. Kind of intimidation tactic. He still lives there. He has even approached Brett's family at Walmart. And one of them, bless her, I think she worked there, asked about the case. And she's like, oh yeah, we know who did it. And he's like, really, who? And she's like, you. So it's so frustrating, y'all. And his mom, that night, I know she feels guilty for not going back up there. I know she does. And I have heard that she heard a noise. I've heard it woke her up, and I've heard that it was just a noise. I don't know the time, but she said it sounded like somebody was moving furniture. She did not hear the gunshot. If there had been a loud verbal altercation, I would think somebody would have heard something because of how easy it was for me to hear people just talking. Like I said, the neighbors were questioned by the family, but not law enforcement. The neighbor that lived next to him, like when you're looking, if you go the short way, you would have went by their apartment and then got to Brett's. They packed up and got out the next day. They left, moved out, gone. I find that interesting. There's so much more to get into with this, but this has been an hour, and I know everybody has things to do. Attention spans aren't that long. I knew when I got into this case, it was definitely going to take more than one video to get through the story, but I wanted to give you an overview, kind of tell you who the key players are. I want to talk to you more about law enforcement, some of the failings on their part, and where this is at now, and just show you why it's so frustrating, not just to me, his family, but to everybody, to the community. So thank you for spending an hour of your Saturday with me to learn about Brett Wolfe's case. Like I said, this is, for me, is the case that started it all. This is why I started this channel. And I want answers. I want answers for his family, his son that never got to meet him. I just want this closed. I feel like we have answers, but nobody's being held accountable, and they need to be. So probably in the next video, I'm going to give you some names, emails, numbers you can call to help us put pressure on people to act in this case. I will link the GoFundMe in this video. And like I said, I will continue to update it. I'm hoping to get some more pictures of him from his family. Keep them in your prayers. I know they're going through a lot, and this case it weighs on them. It's a heavy burden. It's a heavy burden. And when his birthday rolls around, or the anniversary of his death rolls around, it's hard. So lift them up in your prayers. And like I said, thank you so much for spending time to learn about this case. And if you don't mind, share it on your social media so more people can hear about it. Because like I said, if you Google it, there's nothing out there. The local news sometimes will update and say, hey, it's been this many years and it's still not solved, but that's it. So like it, because that helps boost it so more people can see it. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think about it. Just anything you can do to help me get awareness out there that something needs to be done to close this case. I would appreciate it so much. If you're not already subscribed, I would encourage you to do that. You can join our channel with membership. We do members only videos where I talk about things that I can't talk about out here in the open tubes of the U land. So everybody have a great weekend. I love y'all so much. Thank you again, Phantasmic Ether. I love my bracelet. I love the card that you sent. And as always, I will see you all in the next one.